quick recap. So the intention of this session is to basically cover the on-job submission via Skills Bank, how to do it, how to make a resubmission, and answer any questions you have or any issues you've had that may relate to that. So without further ado, I will share my screen and run you through it. Right, so first thing, obviously, you need to log into Skills Bank, as you should all be able to do. If not, get in touch, post this, and we'll sort that out. But not a problem. So under the on-job tab, I've stuck in a video there, which kind of guides you and runs you through it. Might update it with this one if it turns out to be better. So there's some information there already around what to do. Scroll down, and then you see the specific on job. So you have the study guide, which is the general training information about it. Then you've got the assessment that you can then download. So if I click on that assessment, will download to my device, and then there it is. I can open that up and start editing it. So it's an editable PDF. Make sure you put in all your details. Don't leave it blank, so we're unable to report it if you're missing some key information. So might seem quite pedantic, like a tick box or your student number or something. All that needs to actually be there and correct. Otherwise, it's going to come back to you anyway. So get it right the first time. Makes it easy for everyone. So put in all your details. Run through it, take your time, obviously, make sure you've got everything you need. Do this part, make sure you do all these check forms, as I said. So you read it, make sure you're doing this. This is supposed to be a check sheet to make sure you've got all the information and you understand it. If not, get in touch with your training advisor. So run through, this one's a bit of a scenario you've got to fill in based on the information provided. So you're going to do it at a slower rate, but read it, tick all your boxes, put in all your information, go back, double check you got it right, work out what the issue is, make sure everything's clear. Potentially you can mark up the PDF as well if you need to, depending on what you're working with. Some, if it's designed as an editable bit, won't show up, so that might be a little bit of an issue. Generally, you're just going to type into the field, but in some cases, maybe on the reset, you might mark it up. So you might change it, make sure it's clear and visible. Don't use red, use a different color. If you make a mistake, rub it out. There's multiple ways that you could fill it in. Go through, do the whole lot. Make sure if there's a verifier section that you get your verifier to fill their part in and sign it. Make sure they've completed it fully. That's quite important. Not every assessment has a verifier section. Sometimes it's pretty basic, like they're just confirming that you've done something. If it's like a practical, like a hot water cylinder one, it might be they're confirming that your installation was compliant. So it's got a bit more, I guess, weight to it. Either way, it still needs to be filled in. They need to have their PGD number there. They should be the ICE registered verifier for your company. Leave the assessor section. They'll mark that when you submit it, and that will include your feedback and the outcome. So leave those bits empty. Make sure there's no more student sections. You need to do this declaration section, for example. And sign it. You can sign it like something like so. If it does disappear, or you've got issues with it, you think you can't see it, just do it next to it. It's fine.
Are you there, Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, Fraser here, mate. Hey, listen, do you just want to go through that little bit, particularly around the how they actually get that tool to bring up to do that signature? Because that's really important. If you guys can take anything away, if you can actually just get this part down, because this is the part that's going to be the hardest for you to fill in. But that'd be great.
Okay. I'll just save it and reopen it because this is actually Adobe Pro, which people won't have because it's a paid license. But the free Adobe is probably the best one to use. We use Adobe Pro, so the assessors do. So edits done with Adobe. Definitely there should be no issues in terms of compatibility, but there is a heap of PDF editors out there that are free. Find somewhere to save it. So this is just opening it with Microsoft Edge. Chrome defaults to Adobe Pro for me. But you get, yeah, like I've actually done it on my iPhone, doing it and then using the built-in tools there. So you shouldn't really have too many issues. But in this case, this is just using Microsoft Explorer. Show you the right name. Microsoft Edge, rather, which is be on most computers if they're Microsoft operating systems. And then you can just go in and you've just got this draw function. You can change the thickness. If it's too thin, make your line thicker. You want it to be visible. You can rub it out. You can change the colors. You've got a whole heap of different colors. Avoid red because typically that's what markups will be. So blue, maybe green is a good color. You can use other ones. If you're doing a reset on the same form, use a different color for clarity, and then you can put a comment in there with your submission saying what you've done. So attempt 2 is blue. We'll put it on the cover. And that will allow you to go through and sign that document, etc. Text, you should have a text option. You can then just type in the date. And then save your file. What would be useful if you save it, because it'll have the unit standard as the file name. So it would be useful if you save it with the unit standard number 30. It's 30. It's 3490. And then your name. All right, so yeah, put in a logical thing, and it might be, number 1. Might not let me have that character, but let's try it. Seems to be right. So you filled it in, you're now going to be ready to submit it. So I'll jump back to the course. So now I'm going to go through the submission part. So I've downloaded the file, I've edited it, I've filled it in, I've double checked, I've got everything ready to go. Now you can click in there. There's actually another copy of the template there, but we just left it in the front just because it's easier to see. Then I'm using a test account that we've used before and it needs to be graded. That was a great example. So I'll just use a different one as an example. There. So if you haven't made a submission before, you will see it will appear like this. So that is the blank template. And then you can add a submission. So click add a submission. And then you need to either search for your file and upload it or drag it in, which is probably the easiest way to do it. So you can just drag it across from one part of your computer to another and drop it in like that. That's the simplest way. Obviously, that probably wouldn't work too well on your phone if you were trying to submit it on your phone. If you're doing it on your phone, you'll need to find the file. So you need to add a file. You need to choose a file. And then you need to search your computer to find that file. So rather than put the same one in, I'll put my original version of it in. And give it a name. So you could actually put more than one example in there. So if you're doing a resubmit, you could put your original one in there and the resubmission, although in the system, it will keep the original one anyway. So it'll already be tracked. So you don't really need to do that. But if you're uploading one like you've previously done it through your Apprentice Manager and you're doing a reset, you will need to upload the original with the information because the other system is not connected to this system. So if they're to mark it, they can't just have the 2 questions you've redone. They need to see the original that they've sent back to you as for a reset. So if you're doing that, then you may need to upload 2 documents in one go. But your first submission, fill it in, one file, upload it. Save changes. Submit assignment, make sure that it's the right file. Confirm it's your own work. You have to do that, tick that box. Click continue. And it's now in there, it's submitted for grading. So,
Martin.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. Just one question. When we receive like answer about these submissions, where can we see like the feedbacks or some text?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump in to my other account. And I'm going to go and find that submission. So you won't see this. This is the marker. So this is what the marker sees. So the marker will get it. They can then open it, open the file, save it, etc. They can go, oh, yep, great, you've done that right. How are they going to do it a bit neater than that, hopefully. They'll fill in their section. Might fill in your sections. And they can type in and give you some feedback. Q 5, 6, 7. Or info, blah, blah, blah. They'll save the file. And they'll give you, they have to give you a grade because how it's set up, but the grade is, it doesn't really mean anything until you get to 100. So it's just an approximate grade. It's just a rough indication of what it will be. When they've finished marking it, they will come out as marking completed. They might put an additional comment, so I can put in some comments in there, as well as marking up the actual assessment. So they might, tell you, look at G12 or something, whatever they might do. They will then drag in the marked file and they should click and allow another attempt if you need another resit, and notify the student. So if you pass on the first attempt, we won't allow any more attempts. They'll grade you at 100. Boom, that's it. It'll just sit in there as a marked completed one, but the marked one will appear if you go back in. Save changes. I'm just going to bring back the student form. I'll just jump out. I'll have to refresh it. Should do. So it's now come out with a cross. So that shows that it's been marked. I've submitted it, but I haven't passed. So I didn't achieve a passing grade. So it's giving you an update just by going back in there. It's probably I'm not sure if I think you'll receive an email to your email if they're giving you the feedback. So when they've marked it, you should get notification.
The grade must be 100% or
Yeah, so you get a tick when it's completed. And if you go back in to look at one, so if I look at this, that's the original template. So this is where it gets a little confusing. So I've gone back in. I'll just go a little bit slower. So I've gone back in. I've got the email saying, yep, you need to go back and remark this. You've only got 80%. I go back in. It's got the cross, so I know it's not finished. I go back in. That's the template, same place as it was the first time. To add another submission, I do it here. But to see what I've put in and what they've marked, I have to scroll down, which is where it's a bit weird. So this is what I submitted in my first attempt. This is what the assessor sent back to me. So they've only sent one back. I actually sent them two. That's okay. That's what we did. And then I can see it. So I can now download that marked version. And I can see the assessor's scribbles, in this case, on the cover. I can read through it, take a look. See, they're going to mark all of it, not part of it like I've done. And I can see their feedback. So it's in there, clear. There it is. I can see it. I can now remedy question 5, 6, 7. So I can go back in, finish adding my information. Save it. Oops. We want to save it as file. So this time I'm going to save it as submission 2. So that's my second submission. So you can't edit the one that's uploaded there, but when you download it, you can edit it and do what you like with it. And that's just tracking what's happened so far. So add another. It actually doesn't really matter which one of these you click. We'll probably take it off, so you only have one. But what it does is, if you do this one, it links the first one to this one, and if it does this one, it just uploads another individual file. Doesn't really need both options. I'll use this one. So I've now uploaded the version, my second attempt. I thought it was a student feedback bit, but geez, maybe there isn't. And then just click submit assignment. So the file will pop up there, just confirm that's the right one for the right unit. See, I'm not using the right one. But make sure that your numbers line up, that you are submitting the correct one for the correct unit. Submit it, confirm it again. And now it's submitted for Mark 2. So at the moment it's locked to me until the assessor marks it. So you can't go and make another submission at this point. Once you've submitted it, that's it. And then it's just down here, it's just a track record of what's happened to date. So if I jump back into the assessor one, this test one's reappeared. So I can go in there and now I can see attempt 2. So I can go in, take a look at attempt 2. Check that you did question 5, 6, 7. Great, yep, he's filled that in. I'm happy with that. Then mark up the form so it's complete. Mark up the form. Just when we're doing the whole lot. I should put all the details on there. Tick the box. So the assessor goes through, marks it, well done. Whatever comment they like. I'm just going to spell. Don't like dogs, done it. Still can't spell. Hopefully they upload the correct file. And then this time I won't allow another attempt because you don't need one. I've now passed it. Notify the student. Save changes. Boom. So I'll now jump back. Sorry, it's a lot of jumping back and forward, but this is obviously going to happen over the extended period, maybe a week, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months. Hopefully not that long. So now as the student, as I go in there and I've received 100% grade, I've now got the tick instead of a cross. And that tells me that I've passed that unit. Yes, I'm stoked. I can now move on to the next one. So that's basically how it goes. If I went in to have a look, I could go in. It's got the original template. It's got my most recent submission. It's got the feedback to that submission from the assessor. So that's the one, that's the past one. And then I've got my earlier attempt and the feedback to that earlier attempt. So it's all there, it's all tracked, it's visible, it's saved on the learning management system in Skills Bank. Now I've achieved that, I can set my sights on the next unit and start working towards that. So, any questions on that process or anything you'd like me to recap?
I got a question. So for like the signing, you say you can do that on your phone.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was just wondering what app you use for that.
So there is a Moodle app, but it's not at the moment fully enabled to do all functions. So you don't actually need an app. You just Google Skills Bank. You just go to the website and log in like you would on your computer. So you just use your browser, and it allows you to do everything.
Oh, okay, yeah, sweet.
Yeah, there's a couple of question types in the quizzes that don't transition particularly well to a smaller screen. The drag and drop type questions. Sometimes it cuts them off, or it just struggles to fit it on. But you could typically pull down or, flip your phone sideways and do it. But you can do PDF editing. Most, modern phone will allow you to download a PDF to the phone. It will allow you to mark up the PDF, edit it, type it in. It's not the easiest way of doing it, but it's achievable, and you can do it while you're sitting around at lunchtime or something. So you can basically do it anywhere.
Sweet. No, thanks.
Yeah. Doing a lot of traveling earlier in the job, and I'd sit there on my phone marking assessments at the airport. So it's quite achievable. But you just use your normal login. So your skills bank login, if your name's Bob and that's your login name and your password, you just put that in. Off you're in. Off you go. One advantage of the phone is that usually it's your Face ID or whatever, it'll remember it all, and then you don't have to even worry about it, and you just go in, looks at your face, and it'll basically log in for you. Cool.